Durant, by all accounts, not only one of the greatest players of this generation, probably most people this era after LeBron and Kobe, Rob, with most people are Duncan. If you count them in this era, Shaq, I mean, they're all ahead of KD, but, he's right after them in most people's minds, and right there with Steph Curry. And he has been bad, Rob, in these first two games against Boston. One of the major reasons that they are down 0-2 is because Kevin Durant has not been Kevin Durant. He's played more like, I'm going to use one of Rob's, not lines, but I'm going to take this out of Rob Parker's book. He's been more like Kevin Spacey than Kevin Durant.
There you go. Kevin Spacey.
You like that?
I
laughed, too. I take that out of your book, too. I laughed at my own joke. All right, Rob, he's shooting 30% in the first two games. It's not like he had one great game and one bad one. They both were bad. And don't be fooled by the average, 25 points, but it's been ugly. He's averaging 25, believe it or not, but he shot 30%. And here's another thing, Rob, 4 rebounds and 4 assists a game. And last game, too, he was 0 for 10 in the second half. And, Rob, I want to say something. And I want to hear some callers. I don't know where you'll be at on this, but I want to hear some callers weigh in. I text with some former players. You hear them make comments. Oh, they couldn't see Kevin Durant back in the 90s. Jordan, Pippen, Rodman. You think they could guard Kevin Durant? Please. He destroyed them. I've heard that. Well, I present to you Exhibit A, the Boston Celtics. I have said on many platforms in the last week that the Celtics are playing 90s era defense against the Nets. But it ain't even 90s era. Rob, I think you'll co-sign this. It's physical defense.
Right. It's what we don't see enough of.
Physical defense.
It's what we don't see enough of.
Today, to these players that are used to having all this space and all this room and the lane wide open, to them it probably feels incredibly physical. But Boston that's not physical compared to the 90s. It ain't, and people have compared it to the Jordan rules, and I get it. And relatively speaking, fine. But the Jordan rules were literally clobbering Michael Jordan. Am I wrong, Rob?
No. It was
if he got in the paint, they clobbered him.
If he gets in the paint, and there was no, Jordan wasn't getting all the calls. They roughhoused him, Chris. It was sometimes a bloodbath. It just was. And it was a different game back then. And I agree. If Kevin Durant and players of today were playing under those rules, Chris, it's just like you could say whatever you want about the quarterbacks. Go watch Joe Montana quarterback back then, Chris, and watch now where you can't touch the guy, okay?
A different game.
It's
not to mention the receivers, Rob.
Right. It's a different game.
You can't hit the receivers anymore now either.
I go over the middle as well because I know that.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right? In the old days, you better not. I dare you to come over the middle. I dare you.
Absolutely. So that's why you young cats looking at the numbers of Troy Aikman and Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw and saying, what? They sucked. You don't know the context. It was totally different. And what I'm saying is I don't want to hear a millennial, a Gen Xer tell me that they couldn't guard Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, some of these guys back in the day. Oh, they could guard them, and they could guard them better than they do now. People said that. People laughed at, and I'm not saying he would have been Steph Curry, but, bro, people laughed at Phil Jackson. Remember when Phil Jackson said, oh, he reminds me of Chris Jackson or Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Right.
Changed his name. But back then, you could hand check Mahmoud. You could guard him a lot more physically. And so that's one thing. I wasn't even going to go there, but I got to throw that out, and I want to hear people's opinions. Enough of this. Durant, yes, he would have been a superstar back in the day, but he also would have had some trouble. He wouldn't be better back in the day than he is now.
Unless he got tougher, Chris.
He'd have to get tougher.
He'd have to get tougher in the way that the game was played. And it was all the teams were built that way. It wasn't just It wasn't just the Knicks or the Pistons.
The Knicks, yes.
You remember the Pacers?
The Bulls were tough. The Pacers. My God. The Davis boys?
Right, the Davis boys. They had two of them.
Dale Davis and Antonio Davis.
They called them the Davis brothers, but they weren't related. But they were big guys, and they laid wood to you, Chris.
Absolutely, man. It was so. That's all I want to say. And look, Rob, and I'm not saying he was as good as Durant, but there was a precursor to Durant. They called him Bob McAdoo. Remember Bob McAdoo, Rob?
McAdoo, that's right.
6'9", center, jump shooter. Great player, great scorer.
Buffalo Braves.
Yep. So,
yes.
Rob, I think this is a huge weekend for Kevin Durant. I think we've all said, I don't know where you're at on this, but I want to see Kevin Durant lead his own team to a championship.
Of course. I think that's in the cards.
That's what everybody wants to see.
I don't think that's unfair, but I disagree with you about this. And I don't know if you even said this. I'm not even going to put words in your mouth.
Okay.
It's not a legacy-changing week.
No. Because he's an all-time great no matter what.
Exactly. And all he has to do, Chris, to piggyback or to up his resume is win a championship in Brooklyn. If he does that, whether it's this year.
You say that like that.
No. But I'm just saying. But it ain't. If they don't win this year and they win next year, then he lost this year is what I'm saying.
No, I agree with that.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
No, but he has to ultimately get the job done.
Yeah. And he ain't getting no younger.
No.
And Boston ain't getting no worse.
But you can't take
Miami
away
ain't getting no worse. Or
what
Milwaukee.
He's done and the championships he's won and the MVPs. Could it enhance him? Yes. If they come back and he balls out, Chris, and comes back and they run to the Eastern Conference Finals and get to the championship, then you'll look at it differently. You'll say, he had 2 bad games and he came back and proved to be the player that we all thought he was. I mean, this
won't matter. I agree. But I can say the same thing about almost any player. If Jason Tatum leads Boston to the finals, we're going to start talking about him differently. So I'm just saying, Rob, let's just keep it real. And I think even you have a mental asterisk by Kevin Durant's 2 rings. He won them fair and square. He was the best player, finals MVP. But that team was just ready-made.
Yeah, but if we're going to do that, then we got to look at LeBron.
No, LeBron, that wasn't even close to this, Rob.
No. Why?
That Miami team had not won 73 games and a championship before LeBron got there.
Yeah, but they had also lost the championship despite winning 73 games.
Yeah, fine, but they won one. Just like you said about Durant. If he don't win this year, that doesn't negate it if he wins next year.
I'm not saying
them winning in 2015 is not negated by 2016.
But the problem I have is Durant wasn't just like some slacker and just hanger on, and he didn't do anything. He was a big part of that team.
Yeah, he was fine. But my contention is a lot of players, great players, could have stepped in that situation and won championships with that team.
Well, but he did.
I think they would have won it without him the next year.
I'm not convinced of that.
Well, we don't know for a fact, but I think they would have. Right, that's fine. But they were good enough to win 73 games, good enough to get a 3-1 lead on Cleveland, and they lost it, no doubt. But that was a great team without Durant. And here's the other thing, Rob. And we're talking in the present. Yeah, sure, he can come back next year, win it all, and everything's brushed aside. But right now, Golden State looking like they got a legitimate chance to win the championship.
Yeah, I'm just not there yet. I think it's too premature. The competition that they have, I just don't feel good about Denver. That's just me. And I could be wrong about Golden State. We'll see. Because are they going to meet Memphis in the second round if they both advance, right? And I could see Memphis beating them. And then I think it will be different, and people will say, Memphis is the young guns, and the Warriors used to be great, and they do have some new younger players. but their core has been around for a while, Chris. And
but if they win, I mean, we have to see how it plays out. But yes, of course, if they lose, that's what you'll say. But if they win, what will you say? Wow, they're back without Kevin Durant.
No, I'll say Memphis is inexperienced and young.
Right. Because Memphis, you keep talking about Golden State's competition. Who's Memphis playing? Freaking Minnesota Timberwolves.
But at least they have the matchup that we talked about.
Matchup. I mean, Minnesota ain't a very good team. Yeah, I mean, I don't care what the matchup. Dispense of them. Dispense of them.
They are doing it. They did it last night.
Yeah, well, all right. We'll see. Yeah, we'll do it. Keep doing it. All right. 877-99 on Fox. 877-996-6369. Has this series, Boston, where Kevin Durant has struggled mightily, is this evidence that, let's hear from some of y'all millennials that like to talk about back in the day. They didn't know what they were doing. They couldn't see KD. They couldn't see Steph. They couldn't see the players of the day. Give me a call now. And the old heads, you can call in too, because I know you're going to back up me and Rob. 877-99 on Fox. All right, we're the Odd Couple, and we are brought to you by AutoZone, because they have the free services you need to help you get back on the road, such as their free AutoZone Fix Finder service. And with more than 5,600 locations across the country, AutoZone's here to help you save time and money with those free services. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone, 877-99 on Fox. Physical play seems to be bothering KD. Talk to us.
All right. Let's kick it off, Chris, with Sam in Indiana. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Sam?
How you doing? How you doing, Chris, Rob?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I'm an old head like you guys, and I'm going to tell you two things. KD would have to play the three back in our day in the NBA, but he would have been still going against some guys 6'9", 6'10", like Derek McKee with the Davis brothers,
right.
Xavier McDaniel,
the X-Men,
Anthony Mason.
Oh, right.
You know, we had Scottie Pippen back then, John Sally, Dennis Rodman. And he would have been good back then, but he had to go through him. And plus, back in our day, even in pickup games, we took defense personal. You scored on me, that was personal. And that's how they played back then.
But they don't play like that anymore. Now it's like, what are you doing getting in my way? What are you doing?
Exactly.
Right. No doubt, Sam. Thanks. Good name,
call,
too.
Sam.
Yep. How about Mark in Virginia? You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Mark?
What's going on, gentlemen? Hey, gentlemen, how you doing this evening?
Doing great.
Up, man?
You know, I don't even think the defense is that physical. It's just that these guys are so used to doing whatever they want to do. They're just disrupting him and getting in his way a little bit, and he's so spoiled over the years that people let him do whatever he wants to do. Now, all of a sudden, everybody keeps saying it's so physical. It's nowhere near how it used to be.
Right.
I think he still would have been a star, but his mentality would have had to change.
Oh, yeah.
You had some slender guys back then. Iceman wasn't too much bigger than
Reggie Miller. Yeah, but
Reggie,
it's the mentality.
Yep.
And Jordan even said, with the Jordan rules, Rob, he said, I realized I wasn't strong enough.
No.
He had to get in the weight room and get stronger. And that's what Kevin Durant would have had to do. And you're right, this isn't physical compared to the 90s.
No.
And Rob, especially compared to what Durant was used to in Golden State, because you had to worry about Steph and Clay too. So he was really getting soft looks in Golden State.
No doubt, and it makes a big difference. What about Brian in Wisconsin? You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, B?
Guys, what is up? Big fans of both your respective programs all over. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I am definitely on the not the millennial side of this whole argument with the new players are better than the old players. And I think of it like this every single time. I'm a young guy. I think about this every single time. When I'm 60, I'm part of the MKE. We just won a championship here in Milwaukee. I'm not going to think that anyone's better than Giannis is when he's playing right now.
Right.
The game evolves. The game changes. Different players come in. Nowadays, you go to the YMCA, all the kids are around the three-point line shooting threes. Back when when Shaq was big, we were all in the paint playing defense and trying to dunk.
Right.
It's changed. The game is going to keep changing. Don't disrespect the players. They do what they do in their time. They break their bread. They make their money. and they do what they do. And I just hate it when kids my age go, oh, Giannis would tear up MJ or,
Right.
Scotty or all these guys, he would tear them up. It's like maybe he would, but those guys earn what they got. And there was no better when they were in the league. So don't sit here and tell me that.
I think we're seeing he wouldn't have been tearing them. Now again, he would have been he wouldn't have been a star. He'd have been a superstar.
Right.
Yeah, he would have been one of the best players in the league. But I don't think he would have been any better than he is now, Rob. Maybe not quite as good.
That was pretty good from a young guy in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
Brian, right? Refreshing.
He is right, too, Rob. You go play with young boys now, all they do is shoot threes.
Yep. All right, how about
crazy.
Mark in Sacramento? You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
What's going on, gentlemen? real quick, I want to give some props to that young man too. That was refreshing to hear from a young man.
Yes.
that was refreshing to hear,
his head on
Does he sound like he's in his 20s, right?
Right.
Yes. Hey, real quick, the physicality. We talked about this a bunch. I was going to say X-Man. The caller before me, man, I'd have sicked X-Man on him. The other thing was about using your hands, man. The guys in the wings were able to use their hands. I'd sick guys like Michael Cooper or Sidney Moncrief or the late Dennis Johnson. Those guys, man, they were like muggers, man, the way they used their hands on you out there, so you couldn't get free. So I was going to say, hey, Chris, real quick, I want to throw a player, I think from 30, he was born 35 or 40 years too early, who could have played in today, the way the game is, his skill set, before he blew out his knee. Ralph Sampson.
Yeah,
I think he was 40 years too early.
And he was ridiculed for playing out on the perimeter, being 7 foot tall. He was ridiculed.
Yes, and
people
handling
thought
the
he
ball
was
and
so
shooting.
soft.
Yep.
And yes, no question. And look, he would have been great back in his day had he not blown out his knee.
Yep.
Because remember, he and Olajuwon went to the finals. And, he was an all-star and all that, but, never was the same after the knee injury. But you're right, Rob, no doubt.
No doubt.
He playing today, he would have really been he was ahead of his time, no question. Good call, Mark. All right, we got Carrie Kittles up next, but first, Steve DeSager in with the update. Steve.
You mentioned defense and good hands, which reminds me of Ron Artest, some of the best hands defensively.
Gosh. We didn't even think about him. Stick him on KD? Oh, my.
And two of the best defenders of our lifetimes were on the same team, Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen. So
And Jordan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And the other thing, too, is you used to be able to put your hands in somebody's
your
back.
forearm,
Right?
Yep.
And then you remember, then it flipped over till you had to bend your elbow, right? And then you could use your bended elbow.
You put an elbow in their
back.
Right.
But you could touch them. You could actually touch defenders. Offensive players.
All right. He's a former NBA veteran, Fox Sports Radio NBA analyst, our man, Carrie Kittles. Carrie, what's up, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
So is the
We are
series
good.
over, Mr. Soothsayer?
Okay.
I'm
Hey,
asking.
Rob's starting off quick, so I'm going to let him go.
Is it over?
Is what over? What series is this?
The Brooklyn series.
Nets,
called
Celtics.
No. I don't see. I think the Nets will recover and win a couple games there. And
So you think
see
they
it.
go back to Boston 2-2?
Yes.
Okay.
I think.
Wow.
Well, at least Brooklyn will get one. I think Brooklyn will get one.
3-1 is over.
Yes, but not a sweep. Gentleman's sweep, but not a full sweep. Gentleman's sweep.
Wow.
Okay.
So then, you said it in a nice way.
Right.
But you said this thing is
It's all
done.
good.
How
about
Carrie,
that?
we were just talking about how the physical defense of the Celtics is bothering Kevin Durant. And we always hear millennials and young people today say, oh, they could Jordan's era. They couldn't see KD. Couldn't nobody guard KD. He's a 7. He shoot over. And Carrie, we're not saying we believe in your day and the 90s, and you came in the late 90s. But your day and before, KD would have been a star. But this proves, don't tell me a Dennis Rodman, a Ron Artest, a Jordan, a Pippen, that they wouldn't have given him problems. I don't think he would have ran roughshod over the league like all these young people think. Think he would have been great, but I don't think he would have been any better then than he is now. And you played in that era. What's your take, especially seeing how physical defense has affected him in these first two games? That was a Tuesday for you.
I
mean,
agree
real
with you.
talk.
I think a little bit more physicality, and we were seeing now a superstar in the modern era
having to play against what would be typical basketball back in the mid-'90s when I played, right? So, I mean, he would have been going against guys like Ruben Patterson. He would have been going against guys like Junkyard Dog, and you mentioned Rodman and others who have size, and they would have had a little bit more physicality of being allowed. Listen, it all depends on referees, right? If you're not calling the chest bumps, if you're not calling a little bit of holding, a little bit of hand, okay, and we're just playing normal basketball, not street ball, but normal basketball, I think he would definitely not be at the level he's at now. We're seeing it now, right? It's 2 games, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But, guys, 31% from the field, 28 from 3, that's not KD. And he'll probably respond tomorrow with something crazy.
Let me ask you, we had Coutinho Mobley on Dan Patrick's show this morning, and he thought Kyrie fasting might have, not an excuse, but might have an effect when you don't, eat and drink. What did you make of how good he was in Game 1 and how he was out of it in Game 2?
I think it's all about adjustments. I think Boston is really, really good defensively, guys. And I said this on your show last week. We're talking about a great defensive team, and they take you out of your rhythm. And they're not going to allow Kevin Durant and Kyrie to both stay and play rhythm basketball for 48 minutes. That won't happen. And Marcus Smart is a great defensive player. Jaylen Brown is very, very active. Tatum is really active. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to cause Kyrie problems, and if you can't blame it on the fasting. I don't think that was the case because the kid is focused. He's razor sharp right now with his approach, but when that defense is in your skin like that and they're forcing you and making you take tough shots, we're seeing a different story now in this series.
Let me ask you this. Will the refereeing change in Brooklyn? Like, you could be a little rough. You're in Boston. They're giving you a little room. Will you be able to roughhouse those guys in Brooklyn?
No, but I think we saw KD shoot how many free throws in Game 2? I mean, he got 27 points.
20.
Right.
Yeah, he got to the free throw line a lot, and he will do the same in Brooklyn. But guys, this is playoff basketball, right? I don't think the referees are going to change up anything and try to influence this series. If the Nets are going to get themselves out of this and make it a competitive series, they have to do it with their play and not rely on the referees to blow a whistle every time someone chest bumps and get him off of his line or whatever the case may be.
Carrie, there's a lot of Steve Nash bashers out there. I'm not one of them. I'm not saying he's a great coach, but I'm not just bashing him. But he's got to do some things if Kyrie and KD will allow it, because they don't. I know they want ISO, high pick and roll, drive and kick, but what can Nash do to get KD and Kyrie, for that matter, some better looks, some easier buckets in the half court? And will they allow it? Like, is that something? Because it seems like they want to play this way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think whenever you're playing stationary basketball, you're catching the ball in your sweet spot and you're facing your guy up and you're trying to go one-on-one. That's not going to work. Or you run a ball screen and they switch and now you're going to try to ISO and go. They ain't want to allow it to happen. That's just too easy to scout against. They're saying, no, you're going to see crowds. As a matter of fact, you're going to see more than one person. We're going to make you pass the ball. So I think, and I think Nash will do a good job of this, is getting him the ball more on movement. More. He has to move around a little bit more to catch the ball and go on the movement instead of catching it and waiting to see where a double team is coming from. And, man, let's be honest. He can score with his back to the basket. He can score closer in, 6-8 feet, shooting over guys and getting a little bit closer than the three-point line. But, yeah, I mean, look, we have to give credit to Ime Udoka for his defensive strategy so far in this series. It is what we're seeing, a coaching, display right now we haven't seen before in the NBA, where you're just taking out two superstars where they can't even impact the series.
You're right. No, that's a great point. Last thing, Carrie, before we go, Ben Simmons, they're saying he'll play Game 4. I think he can make some impact defensively, rebounding, maybe even a little bit of playmaking. What's your take?
Yes, minimal. I don't think he's going to go in there and dominate this series. But listen, guys, I mean, he's 25 years old. Yes, his back has been bothering him for a while. He hasn't played in 10 months. I get all of that. But he's 6'10", 6'9", or whatever he is. He's athletic. And they need someone like that to be able to move the ball around and be able to guard multiple players. he will get out there, he'll impact the series, but I don't think he's going to be a dominant player and really control the series. I don't think you're going to see a guy, getting big double-doubles. But hopefully when he's out there, he's playing, he's healthy, and he can give them a lift because they need it right now. I mean, right? They go down 3-1 back to Boston. It's pretty much over.
I agree. Would you put him in the half court? Like, I think he can help bringing the ball up so KD doesn't have to as much. Would you just in the half court put him in the dunker spot?
Well, listen, that's what he has to be, right? He's not going to space in the corner because he's not shooting threes.
Right.
I mean, he's going to be a roamer. He's going to be how we see Bruce Brown playing off the ball. That's what Ben Simmons. He'll be setting screens off the ball, back screens. He'll be slipping. He'll be cutting. He'll be diving from the top instead of spacing by the 3-point line. He'll be diving in there and he'll catch the ball and then he'll score in traffic around the back. That's what he's always done. Or he'll make the extra pass. That's what Ben Simmons is right now. He's not a stretch 4 or a stretch wing. He's a slasher. He's a cutter off the ball.
All right. That's our man, Carrie Kittles. Great stuff, brother. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.